The most basic question is not what is best, but who shall decide what is best. When people get used to preferential treatment, equal treatment seems like discrimination. The problem is not that Johnny cannot read. The problem is not even that Johnny cannot think. The problem is that Johnny doesn't know what thinking is, he confuses it with feeling. The least productive people are usually the ones who are most in favor of holding meetings. The more people who are dependent on government handouts, the more votes the left can depend on for an ever-expanding welfare state. The first lesson of economics is scarcity. There is never enough of anything to satisfy all those who want it. The first lesson of politics is to disregard the first lesson of economics. The fact that so many successful politicians are such shameless liars is not only a reflection on them, it is also a reflection on us. When the people want the impossible, only liars can satisfy. The fact that the market is not doing what we wish it would do is no reason to automatically assume that the government would do better. The big divide in this country is not between Democrats and Republicans, or women and men, but between talkers and doers. Some of the biggest cases of mistaken identity are among intellectuals who have trouble remembering that they are not God. Sometimes it seems as if there are more solutions than problems. On closer scrutiny, it turns out that many of today's problems are a result of yesterday's solutions. Socialism in general has a record of failure so blatant that only an intellectual could ignore or evade it. Racism does not have a good track record. It's been tried out for a long time, and you'd think by now we'd want to put an end to it instead of putting it under new management. People who pride themselves on their complexity and deride others for being simplistic should realize that the truth is often not very complicated. What gets complex is evading the truth. People who have time on their hands will inevitably waste the time of people who have work to do. One of the reasons for the political success of price control is that part of its costs is hidden. Even the dire consequences of the shortage are unable to show the whole picture. Our schools and colleges are turning out people who cannot feel fulfilled unless they are telling other people what to do. Mystical references to society and its programs to help may warm the hearts of the gullible, but what it really means is putting more power in the hands of bureaucrats. Much of the social history of the Western world over the past 3 decades has involved replacing what worked with what sounded good. Many on the political left are so entranced by the beauty of their vision that they cannot see the ugly reality they are creating in the real world. Life does not ask what we want. It presents us with options. It takes considerable knowledge just to realize the extent of your own ignorance. It is not money but the volume of goods and services which determines whether a country is poverty-stricken or prosperous. If you don't believe in the innate unreasonableness of human beings, just try raising children. Education is not merely neglected in many of our schools today, but is replaced to a great extent by ideological indoctrination. Freedom has cost too much blood and agony to be relinquished at the cheap price of rhetoric.